watching President Biden there. He was just touting the strong new jobs report. The president also is expressing frustration over the current debt ceiling showdown with Republicans, accusing them of created what he calls a manufactured crisis. But the president overall is touting the strength of the economy. ABC News business reporter Alexis Christoforous and ABC News' Elizabeth Schulze join me now for more on this. Elizabeth, you heard President Biden there touting those better-than-expected jobs numbers. What does this say about fears of a recession?
Well, Diane, certainly the president indicating that this type of a jobs report is not one that you would see in an economy in a recession. 253,000 new jobs, the unemployment rate at a 50-year low. The president making clear that this is a jobs market that is still very hot and trying to take some credit for the job growth that we've seen. But in that same vein, laying out exactly what the risks are, not just to the jobs market, but to the overall economy. Because of the looming threat of the debt ceiling, we have this big meeting here at the White House next week with the president and congressional leaders. The first time they're sitting down to really even talk about the debt limit in months. And the president said he's digging in on his position, that he doesn't want to negotiate over the future budget when it comes to raising the debt limit. This has been his position, the White House position, for months. On the other hand, you have Republicans who say they're insisting on spending cuts for their position in order to raise the debt limit. But what was made very clear in the president's remarks there is that the costs of a default could undo a lot of the progress that the economy has seen, whether it's the jobs market, whether it's progress on inflation, that this is evidently a very big risk to the economy. The White House knows that, trying to lay that out ahead of this high-stakes meeting here next week, Diane.
Alexis, the president also stressed the importance of the labor force participation rate. What does that number tell us about how we're doing?
Well, it's actually a very important number. It's an indicator of how many people are actively participating, either actively working or actively looking for work. The higher the number, the better off we are. And we did see some movement here in the right direction, and specifically among prime-aged workers, those between the ages of 25 and 54. It climbed there. And the number of women, prime-aged women in the workforce, now at a record high. And you heard President Biden tout this overall labor force participation number. But I'm just going to give you the other side of the coin here for a moment on recession. Yes, it would be very difficult to fall into a recession with a job market this strong. But remember, the economy only grew by 1.1% last quarter. We also are seeing a credit crunch starting in the banking sector, where banks are starting to pull back on lending, which could slow the overall economy because it'll be harder for businesses and consumers to get loans. And it's still costing Americans more than $300 today for the same goods and services they were buying just a year ago. So, you know, there's a good argument for the economy continuing to slow despite the strong job market.
And Elizabeth, you mentioned the president's remarks over the debt ceiling. He seems to be standing strong so far that this is not a negotiation point, and he doesn't want to make it one. But as you said, he is meeting with Republicans on this next week. So is there a plan B if these sides don't budge?
Well, really, the meeting is the only progress we have seen when it comes to both sides. We've seen both the president say this is his position. We're not going to negotiate on future spending. Republicans say they want spending cuts as part of any deal. Now, if this meeting will have any sort of tangible outcome is really what the big question is, because at the end of the day, the clock is ticking here. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the U.S. could default on its debts as soon as June. That is just weeks away, and we know how slowly things operate here in Washington. And I think it's important to remember exactly what's at stake when we're talking about the risk of a U.S. debt default. This means that the government would not be able to pay its past bills. As the president highlighted there, he said this is about past spending. That's true. And this would mean that Social Security might not get paid out. Medicare couldn't get paid out. Military salaries might not get paid. I mean, these are real-world consequences of this kind of abstract political debate and back and forth that has been playing out here for months. So the pressure is going to be on in this meeting next week, and it's something that both sides are clearly aware of, Diane.
All right, Alexis Christoforous, Elizabeth Schulze, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.